Hey everyone, welcome back to The Pressing Matters. I'm Scott. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your support. Today I'm going to be doing another Vinyl Obscurity, number 3 in the series. I started that series to highlight off-the-radar releases from major artists, and this one falls into that camp. Surprisingly, because Doris Day was a huge star in her day, but this came at the tail end of her recording career, and I think she did one other album after this, and that was it. So a lot of people didn't really get to hear this album. And from looking on Discogs and other places, because I wanted to get another copy of this, it's not that common. There's not a lot of copies around. So I guess my video here is not going to help matters much, but you can stream it for sure. And there is a nice CD edition as well. But I have mono and stereo vinyl. I'll tell you all about this in a second. Before I get started, if you're new and haven't already, please consider subscribing. We passed 6,000 a while ago. I think we're at 6,250 now. If you haven't already, give me a thumbs up, hit like, subscribe, and notification so you can be sure to get notified of any new content that comes up. Much appreciated. Thank you so much for doing that. So this album was released in '65. This was kind of at the tail end of the bossa nova craze, I guess. Everyone in popular music had done a Latin-tinged album, and this is hers. Doris Day, of course, was a singing star from the 50s, 40s actually, 40s, 50s, and 60s, and also a movie star. I knew her most from her movies, like Pillow Talk and Midnight Lace and things like that. When I was growing up, I wasn't listening to Doris Day, that's for sure. I was listening to rock and roll. So coming around to this album after so many years was such a treat. I really started to appreciate vocalists from that era. And I had heard so much about Doris Day, and I kind of had to separate her image as a movie star to what she does with her voice and singing. A lot of times those are combined, obviously, but this is a very nice, serious album with a Latin flavor, and I'm going to tell you about it now. This is the cover. This is the mono edition. I have a stereo as well. Now, in my opinion, the mono is the one to go for, because they used ample reverb on her voice. I think it was a natural reverb situation. And on the stereo, it feels a little too much. On the mono, it's just right. Maybe a touch excessive, but not too bad. And it kind of, that little bit of extra echo kind of blends in with this very serene bossa nova beat and atmosphere. She tackles 5 songs from Antonio Carlos Jobim, who was a prolific Brazilian composer who provided great songs like Quiet Nights, Quiet Stars, Meditation, what else? I'm sorry. How Insensitive, Slightly Out of Tune. All these songs were covered by most major artists. It was a really, really big craze or movement in the 60s. Even the jazz people got in on that with jazz samba and Gets Gilberto, for instance. Frank Sinatra did a whole album with Jobim, and it contains many of the songs that are done here. So here you have a chance to hear these recorded by one of the best female voices ever. And once I heard this album, I was like, this is just amazing. I first had the stereo, and I had to get the mono. The fresh warmth of her natural singing style, that really explains it. That's one of the things on the back of the cover. This is arranged and conducted by Mort Garson. And what he's done is provide a very, very sensual, subtle bossa nova backdrop with flutes, some guitar, very sparingly, the bossa nova beat, usually some bongos or shakers or maracas or something for percussion, and kind of creates a very moody, misty background for her to sing. There are several dance styles on here. It's not all bossa nova. There's a tango and there's some cha-cha as well. But it's all done very tastefully, very subtly, and very beautifully. The strings on this album, I forgot to mention there's strings too. The strings on this album are so silky and smooth and just gorgeous, gorgeous sound. Better than so many classical recordings of violins. And this is just like dreamlike, like velvet. The string sound is awesome on this album. The flute, it's an alto flute used throughout the album. Just beautiful. There's a few solos here and there. Let me go through some of my favorite cuts here. Quiet Nights and Quiet Stars opens the album. Her voice sounds spectacular. It's recorded so well. Just amazing, amazing sound. Her natural warmth and femininity come through. It's never cloying. It's never sentimental. It's just kind of perfect. It's just kind of perfect the way she tackles these lyrics. She can really do this and have it come off just beautifully. Beautiful inflection in her voice. Phrasing is very good. The tone of her voice is whispery but silvery and kind of just so seductive. Compared to her good girl image on screen, this is like very seductive for her. And she balances it with kind of a wholesome but seductive sound. It's totally unique, and I don't think anyone could sing this like her. But the Quiet Nights, Quiet Stars is a Jobim number. Tasteful reverb, I said. It's better in mono. Soft Latin beat, flute, strings, so sweet. The guitar is beautiful. The sensual, breathy vocal is there. The second track will blow you away, and it's kind of like worth the whole album. Actually, the whole first side is stunning, but the second track on this side is Fly Me to the Moon. And wow, I never heard anyone sing this like that. Beautiful, beautiful background, piano, guitar, like just a little bit of tinkling piano. Guitar very mixed down into the mix. The strings are gorgeous again. The vocal, there's vibes, there's shakers. Gorgeous flute solo. Enough said. Just a soaring, beautiful rendition of that song. Really, it kind of puts all other renditions of that song in the dust. It's that good. Meditation is another Jobim number. It features guitar, a perfect vocal again. Really brings out the lyric that I hadn't really understood before. That's one thing about this album that's really great, is her diction is so clear and so perfect that all those beautiful lyrics come across with much more meaning. You feel like she means them, and it's amazing. She does a cha-cha number. It's not a Jobim number. It's called Dancero. It was actually written by Richard Heyman, who was a conductor at that time. Dancero, she turns into a cha-cha, and it's just beautiful. Very slow, very subtle, very beautiful, very elegant. I mean, this is an album I can imagine couples of the 60s dancing and romancing to. It's just that kind of album. She does another track called Summer Is Gone, very moody. the way she sings this vocal, you can feel happiness, but just a touch of sadness in her voice because summer is gone. And she can do that. She can just convey like several emotions in one lyric. It's amazing. It's amazing. She's an amazing vocalist. I love it. How Insensitive will floor you. Lonely guitar, moody strings, beautiful chord changes. The melody drops at one point from a major to a minor chord, and it's like, oh, wow. Just pulls at your heartstrings. It's fabulous. I could go on and on. Slightly Out of Tune is another one from Jobim. She also does some other tracks. Let me see if there's one that stands out to me here. Our Day Will Come, she does. Be True to Me. She puts in a little of her own Spanish pronunciation. Perhaps is probably well known to people who are familiar with this era. She does a beautiful job with that. It's a tango, and very charming, beautiful vocal. Be Mine Tonight and Por Favor end the album. The pressings from Columbia, if you know this era of Columbia, it's the 2i era. These invariably sound absolutely quiet. They're always flat. Assuming the record is taken care of, you have a wonderful pressing. You don't have to worry about that. Just beautiful pressings. If you can only find the stereo, get the stereo. If you can find the mono, it's preferred. But I got to tell you, I was shocked because I got these in thrift stores. I was shocked at how few are there on Discogs. There was like one stereo copy and 3 mono copies, and the near mint mono copies were like $100. I was like, what? This must have sold a lot. But then I kind of checked the charts. She had a single from this album, a couple of tracks from the album, and it did not chart. The album apparently did, although I've heard conflicting reports about that. One said it did reach the Billboard charts, another said it did not chart. So I was like, it is kind of obscure, and it deserves to be in Vinyl Obscurities, and it deserves to be highlighted. If you love a beautiful, creamy, lush background for a gorgeous female vocal, this is the album to get. You won't be disappointed, even with the streaming versions. I suggest you check it out on streaming. I love it. It's a Vinyl Obscurity that I think is very, very worthy to be highlighted, and I hope you take a listen to it soon. Pick a romantic evening and put it on. You will be amazed. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Until next time, I'm Scott from The Pressing Matters. Have a great day.